Hi, I'm Robin Gully.
I'm John Justin.
We are your Ward 2 Council people here to give the council recap for the 10th of August, 2026. We started off the night, as usual, with the open council work session. We started with a review of the HIA review for Charlton Place condos, and this is a program that is designed to help homeowners associations with repairs and things that need to be done. So
what you've got is you've got a situation where you have a condo that's in need of repair, and it's significant repairs. I think the number was over $2 million, which is an incredible burden to try and place on individual people. And these are owner-occupied condos, but that's, I believe it worked out to $60,000 per condo. That's not the sort of money that most people can grab and pull out of a hat. I mean, I can't. And so the idea here is that the city acts as a partner. It's had no financial impact to the city, but basically we're able to have access to bonds. And this is a program that was created for this, so we can help spread that out over time. The city regains all of the money. It doesn't come out of city budget. It's a bond that comes in from outside. It's exceedingly low risk, but it allows, I didn't get the list of what this condo group is doing is like new roofs and exteriors. It's big work. It's a lot of expensive big work that probably can't be done otherwise, which does two things. It helps the people that live there, and it also helps, we have this goal to make nice looking places for everybody to see in West St. Paul, so it helps the city as well. So,
and they said not only that it is exceedingly low risk, but in fact that these bonds are always paid back.
Yeah. There's never been a case where it has not been paid back. There's all sorts of protections because of mortgages, all this other stuff. It's done through property tax, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need to get into the weeds totally on that. The two things that are important that I saw is 91% of the residents voted to move forward with this. There's a 65% threshold. When you can get over 90% of any group of people to do anything, you're doing pretty well as far as I'm concerned. So I feel like it's got solid support. And then the person who was there that, helps administer this actually said, because there was a question, well, what if this did default, which we don't think will happen, what would that possibly do to the city's bond rating? And he said, actually, in some cases, it has raised the city's bond rating because when Standard & Poor's comes and looks, it's so incredibly not risky that it actually can move you up in that. So really, I see it as a overall benefit. It'll come in front of the council at a later point. This was just an ask of, do we proceed with this? And I think we're going to. So it seemed to be pretty popular with the table. So.
And then we had a conversation about a month ago about our strategic plan. As you know, we've been working the strategic plan that we created about a year and a half ago. And so we talked about a couple of things that we are going to do in service of our strategic plan. And we talked about these a little bit a couple weeks ago, but I'll just bring them up. And I'm just going to bring up the ones that felt, I think, most significant in this conversation. But one is having, so in the coming year, we're going to hire someone that we're loosely calling the trash czar, or litter czar. Someone who is going to be responsible for helping to manage the trash in the city and make sure that trash in the city on the street, particularly in Robert Street and in our parks, gets picked up and is clean. And we think that this is a real benefit to our city. It is one of the complaints that we get most frequently from residents. And having a city that doesn't have a lot of trash and litter around really makes people feel good
at home
about living in the
Nobody
city.
likes seeing it.
Nobody likes seeing it.
I assume nobody likes seeing it. Nobody ever walked down the street
like, heard from
cool litter.
Who likes it. And then the second thing is that we discussed the possibility of really investing. So we've always been very pro investing in our small businesses and trying to figure out the best ways that we can support our small businesses here in West St. Paul. So we talked about the possibility of really uplifting business clusters. And the idea behind that would be kind of picking a couple of things where we're really going to try to bring in these kinds of businesses or really maintain these kinds of businesses. So an example of that might be like thrift stores was brought up as an example.
Like kind of the fancy thrifting sort of thrift stores, just to clarify. So not nothing against Goodwill Salvation America, but not
But like
Salvation
boutique-
Army, not Salvation America. I missed up
Yeah.
Super America and but sort of the kind of boutique-y things, and they are really gaining a lot of popularity.
And we didn't like decide that was going to be the cluster
Yeah.
either. It was just an idea that was thrown around. Restaurants, we sort of always try to
Independent
lift
restaurants.
up. But we were sort of talking through what that might look like, and it's an early formed, it's like in its early stages of being a formed idea, but the idea would be that really like creating these cluster businesses that we're actively seeking to bring in, and that we're that they sort of create a place out of, that they're sort of placemaking in a way. People might be like, I want to go to West St. Paul because they have all these great whatever.
And the idea is that it kind of filters out from that, and it also supports the other businesses that are around them. And I can speak as somebody who owns a small business. I don't envy anybody trying to figure out how to do this sort of stuff and how to help small business communities, because there's not a archetype of a small business. We're all very different. We're all very weird. We're all equally valuable. But it's always a struggle to try and figure, well, how do you reach your small business community? Because the truth is, the thing that's going to reach me as an owner isn't necessarily going to reach somebody who is a mechanic, or somebody that has a thrift store, or somebody who has a gas station, et cetera. And so the idea, always trying to do this business reach out thing, and all credit to Ben, who has done an amazing job of, I think, talking to every business owner that would talk to him in town. It was his goal, and I think he did it. But I think part of the problem is that if you try to do this big umbrella thing of let's help the small businesses, the needs of different small businesses are so disparate that it really doesn't coalesce. And so I think that, I'm not sure where I land on the clusters, because I think there are potentials for people feeling like they aren't getting as much support as other groups of businesses, and that's a concern that I think needs to be addressed. But I do know that we've tried a lot of different ways since I've been on the council, and I've obviously been very invested in the idea of helping small businesses on trying to figure out, well, how do we help? And we just have to keep trying things to try and figure out what works. And this is another, something we haven't tried before, so we should try it, and we'll see what the results are, whatever form that takes, and that's going to take a while to figure out. It'll probably be a big thing in our next strategic planning, I'm guessing. But yeah, so it's interesting. We'll see how it works. I like the idea. The application is gonna be the tricky part. The difference between retention of existing businesses and attracting new businesses is always a little complicated, because some businesses are like, why are you bringing in more people that do what I do? Because now I have less of a share of the market, which is not always true, but it scares people a little bit. So if any small business people are watching this and have ideas about what, or even just specific things like, this is what would help me, and I'm not talking about, can you write me a check? But like, this sort of support would be helpful, this sort of interaction with the city would be helpful. I am always open to that. I know that the city staff are too. So I always encourage you to do it. We can't figure it out without your help. So
Agreed.
If you got an idea, bring it on.
Then we moved on to the council meeting, and we wanted to start by highlighting that we had 2 Special Olympics medal winners here in West St. Paul. So the Special Olympics were at the University of Minnesota a couple weeks ago. I got to go to the opening ceremony as a member of the Board of Regents too, which was really, really cool. But then we learned that we had 2 West St. Paul residents who were not only participants in the Special Olympics, but medaled in the Special Olympics.
And not only medaled, but gold medal.
Gold medal, yes.
So we had a recognition for both of them. They were both there, which was super cool. And you want to do the honors?
Oh yeah. So we had Jesus Ortega, who won a gold and a bronze, and we had Dimitri Johnson, who won 4 gold.
Yeah.
And they both wore their medals, and they came up and shook our hands,
cool.
and we got to look at the medals,
Yeah.
and it was really special, and they absolutely deserve big pats on the back and a lot of praise for the incredible work that they've done.
Absolutely.
Getting to the Special Olympics.
And medaling gold.
And medaling.
Pretty amazing.
And getting gold medals. Yeah, absolutely. And then we had a visit from the South Robert Street Business Association and some other folks as well. who came to talk about Knockout Hunger. Of course, you probably might know that every year we do a contest to see who can raise the most money to knock out hunger. And they had a couple of things to tell us this year. First of all, that they moved the date.
Yep. Yeah, so it's always been on Small Business Saturday. And
it's too bad for John because he's always working.
and I
this
literally
year on
can't.
Small Business
And I think that
Saturday.
it's a good thing also to do it. So they are moving it off of, that's always the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So they're moving it to the Saturday prior to Thanksgiving. I'm hoping that allows more people to be there. Yeah, we'll see how that works. I think that'll be good.
They're also moving it to South St. Paul.
Yes, yeah,
I
because
believe they said South St. Paul.
I believe so. I think it's been in West St. Paul the last 2 years.
And we've won.
And we've won the last two. We've won all of the years, actually. It's been going for 2 years.
So-
We've won every time.
So
We'll
South
win
St.
again.
Paul,
You
it's
know,
time to step it up.
or you know,
Or
or we
we'll
can just keep winning.
Yeah.
I'm on that team.
Yeah. Yes. I agree.
And they are going to be looking for some more sponsorship opportunities. I think if you reached out to the South Robert Street Business Association, they're looking for a couple levels of business sponsors or even individual sponsors. It's pretty ambitious. If you don't know what it is, basically meals are packed, and last year they packed over 50,000 meals, which is crazy. That are then distributed through food shelves to people around here, and they're shooting for 60,000 meals this year that get packed in that time period. So, and I'm sure we'll see more on this, and I'm sure there'll be more publicity about timing and things like that, because I actually don't think I know what time it happens either. Yeah. But I'm sure that we'll hear that going on. But anyway, we got to hear about that, and we're moving forward, doing it again, and beating South St. Paul again, I assume.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then we had community comments and council comments, and I think we just wanted to highlight a couple of things. Actually, I'll start with the fact that some of you might have seen on Facebook earlier today that our city announced that we're getting rid of the flock cameras in our city. At this time, it seems very clear that our community, we have talked about the fact that our police department, when we did this trial of flock cameras, they absolutely locked down access to it. They were using it in like the most sort of conservative ways possible. But we've just heard widely from our community that there is not a sense that that this technology is trustworthy at this time, and that it won't be abused, and that people won't be at more risk because of it. Yeah. And so we just want you to know that we heard you, and that we really appreciate the tremendous outreach, and that people have been here at council meetings talking about it. And so as of today, the flock cameras have been disabled.
They are being removed. Not bagged, but completely removed. That should be completed by the end of the week. I think one of them or two of them might have come down today. So they will be physically removed. They have already been disabled. I've seen a couple questions that I think are worth straightening out. One question was, does this just mean that it's flipping over to a different, I believe it's called Axon?
Right.
Absolutely not. No. This is not a change in vendor. This is a removal of these particular surveillance ALPR cameras from the city. So there you go. If you've been wondering about that, that is, and
the reason I brought this up during community comments was, of course, that Eric Sunderland, who has come, I think, twice to the council to give some really, really detailed, very thorough reporting on Flock, both the technology and the company. Was there tonight, and just really appreciated that he came to say thank you for taking down the flock cameras. But we've heard you loud and clear, and appreciate all the outreach.
And I think the city manager made a good point in the statement that he made, which is this was a trial, and that's what we approved. We approved on the consent agenda in the fall, is a trial. And what happens with the trial is you see how it works out. It seemed pretty clear to all of us. It was not working out, and people were not happy about it. And that's why you end a trial early, which is what we did. So we terminated the contract. And also it was a granted program. So there was no city. Some people have said, well, how much did the city spend on this thing that you're getting rid of?
Nothing.
We didn't spend anything. So if you have other concerns about the future with flock cameras, about if you're not happy that they're coming down, if you're worried about other aspects of something that might be coming in, reach out, talk to us. We're here for it. Or if you just want clarification on how the whole decision was made, you can reach out and do that too. So.
We also heard from KJ Johnson
Yep.
of the Residents of Color Collective that they are doing their back to school, what did you call it? Resource fair again this year.
So I'm looking up the dates.
No, it's okay. I didn't write down the dates.
August 16th.
August 16th.
And this is where what this is there'll be backpacks packed. Kids have to be there to get them. You can't just go and grab a bunch of backpacks. So it's from 1 to 4 on August 16th, Thompson County Park. There will be games, there will be music, it will be fun. And then they could use some volunteers. August 12th from 6 to 8, they're going to be packing. They're calling it a packing party at the Rock offices, which is directly across from, you can't see where I'm pointing, I'm staring into a camera. It's across from City Hall, 33 Wentworth.
Yes.
And so if you are interested in volunteering for that, I don't know if it's an open, just show up, maybe just reach out and check and see, but that would be Wednesday, August 12th, and I could use the help on that, and they will be supplying a light dinner, I believe.
And then we had council comments, and there were a few things that I think would be worth highlighting. One, first and foremost, we have a primary election tomorrow.
Mhm.
So please, and we have brought this, I think a few council members brought this up, but go vote tomorrow in the primary election. Of course, our election judges are there to help you and are excited. So even if you've never voted in a primary before, you can walk in. They will help you. They will help you if you need to get registered. And you can vote in the primary tomorrow.
And whatever party you are affiliated with, I don't care. All of our democracy gets better the more people are allowed to shape it. And so, yeah, I'm just encouraging everybody, if you have not voted up until now, it's super easy. The primary is actually even easier because the turnout will be lower. It'd be great if it wasn't, but it will be. And so you'll be in and out of there really quick. And it will have an impact. You will be making serious choices that will lead to the November election.
So go vote tomorrow. And then also, we had a great night tonight again in West St. Paul. So those are the main things. But I got to a couple of night tonight parties. Always love the chance to get out and talk to neighbors at the block parties. And if you looked at the parties this year and you thought, hey, I'd like to do that, guess what? We will help you do it for free next year. So all you have to do is put in your application with the city, and we'll come out and put up roadblocks, and then you can invite your neighbors.
And it's a really, having had them on my block, has been a few years now, but I never organized them because I'm too scatterbrained to organize things, but other people around me were nice enough to organize them. And I did meet neighbors I had not met before, that I now know and recognize and talk to regularly. And not that we were trying not to meet, but having that excuse to just go out and everybody just kind of gathers and you just figure out who other people are. And it's a really good thing for your neighborhood and your community to know who you're around and who you're with and what they might need and if you can help and all of the other cool things about it. So, yeah.
Okay. Finally, we really just had, it says 2 items of general business, but they kind of go together. So you'll remember back during the occupation, during Operation Metro Surge, we had approved emergency rent support that was going to go through 2 different organizations, so 360 Communities and Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. So this was kind of like coming back around and looking at those grants and how they were used. And what we found was that the 360s community grant was almost all used. But there was $700 left over, which means that the amount of money that we gave was fairly equal to what was needed at the time. Beyond the Yellow Ribbon, we specifically gave money to them so that they could help families help people who weren't part of our school district.
So people that didn't have kids in the school district, we were trying to find a way to reach them.
And they did not end up using that money. And so we approved two things around these grants. So first was creating a permanent crisis rent support grant, $20,000 presumably a year at this moment through the city that will help through 360's community that they can use as last resort rent support for families that are experiencing housing crisis.
Yeah, they have to be West St. Paul residents. They have to be below 80% of AMI. They have to be people that have kind of fallen through there's lots of programs for this, right? This will only be used for people that have not been able to fit in any of the buckets that lead to support otherwise. And we're going to do it as a trial. We're going to do it. Now, one thing I always try to mention is this is money that comes from LAHA, Local Affordable Housing Assistance.
Right.
From the state. It is not anything that comes off of your property taxes. It does not come out of the levy. And it is been money that it has been very hard for us to use. So it has kind of sat in, and we have a lot more than $20,000 in this account, but it's kind of sat in this thing, non-interest accruing. And we've struggled to find ways to use it because some cities are large enough that they're building public housing. We are not going to we can't build public housing. It's not realistic for a city our size. And so there's not a lot of ways for us to utilize this to actually help people in this situation. And so this is a way that we can actually use that money and I always try to remind people also, there are trickle-down effects. It's not just simply keeping a family in their home, which should be a goal that we all want to do, and a kid in their school and lacking that disruption. But there are disruptions to owners of buildings that are not getting paid. There are disruptions to the ability of people to spend money in our community, the ability of people to get to and from their jobs and possibly lose their jobs. So a lot of times people look at this, and it isn't like you're taking $20,000 and poof, it's gone. That $20,000 can come back to you in ways that people don't always think about when you don't have these disrupted households. And I think that's always important to mention. And again, I always super dig in on the fact that it's LAHA funding, because I, for one, can say, I am always of the mind that if you have money that can be used and it's sitting in an account, I would rather not have it and have somebody else put it somewhere where it can do something, because cities don't need to sit on piles of money they can't utilize. And so when I see opportunities to use this money in a responsible, very controlled manner with a very structured organization that has these connections already, I'm for it. And again, $20,000 is a tiny amount of the LAHA funds we have. It's not going to affect any other projects that might come up, no matter what they are, really. And so I was in support of it for those reasons. Beyond the yellow ribbon thing might be interesting to people, because that actually is not even new money. That is the $10,000 that they already had. And what we're allowing them to do is reallocate it. Before, it was just to kind of be the catch-all for the people that didn't have kids. We're now specifically earmarking it for veterans that are suffering from housing instability. And again, we're also going to see how that goes. If the money is used and we're keeping veterans and their families in their home, there are very few people that are going to be sad about that. I think we are all pretty committed to the idea that's a group we want to help and deserves what we can do for them. And then we'll look at it at the end of the year. And if we see that, again, maybe not a lot of that was dispensed, we might go, okay, well, let's just fund it at $5,000 if they used around there. And that might happen with the 360 communities too. So we'll see, but it's a year by year sort of thing, but that's what we're looking at doing, moving to the next year. So, and that might be it.
That was the whole thing.
All right. As always, if you have any questions,
reach out. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Good night.